Welcome to the Dan Norton Show, a show on which I promote Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism, a philosophy of reason, egoism, and capitalism, and much more. It is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. I see we've already got some chats from Robert. Hi, Robert. Thanks for those. I've only read the first one so far, but I appreciate you getting us started with some topics there. This is a show on which you can shape the topics that I discuss by participating in the chat, or you can also call in. I have a link to Zoom as well as a Zoom phone number, which is pinned in the chat in case anyone wants to call in. I'm happy to discuss or debate Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism, any part of it, or how it applies to various issues. There's a range of topics listed on the backgrounds behind me. um, Atheism, free will, objectivity, etc. So lots of things to choose from, and happy to see what you all want to discuss today. Every live stream is an adventure. Never know exactly what's going to be discussed, and I guess that's part of what makes it exciting to do. Last time, last live stream, we had two calls. Mark Moses called in to talk about local governments and free markets. And uh, there was also a call from Friedrich from Sweden. I chatted with him a little bit, just getting to know him. And then at the end, I had some discussion with Evolutionary. That's the name of one of my frequent chatters. His full name is Evolutionary Capitalism Utilitarianism. And we were debating what capitalism is. And I thought we had some good discussion. And I had some further thoughts on that. Maybe I'll continue that today if he comes back, or maybe even if he doesn't, I can say some things in his absence about that topic. But I thought it was a good stream, and it was well received, at least judging by the number of likes. It looks like it got 20 likes, which is a very strong showing. And the watch time was very good. I think it got around 50 hours of watch time. That's a very good number for my channel. And I think it also might have set a record for the highest average number of concurrent viewers. So I think the my number of viewers fluctuates throughout the show. Right now it shows I've got 10 on this stream, and I think the highest I've seen it get up to is maybe 17 in a previous live stream. But the YouTube analytics will tell me what the average number is. So even if the highest number for a given stream might be 16 viewers at one time, maybe the average is only 7 or 8. But my average on the last live stream was 10. And I think that was the first time that I had an average that high in the double digits throughout the entire live stream. And it was a long live stream. I think it was around 3.5 hours. So it was great to see that a lot of people were sticking around for that. So definitely appreciate that. Thanks to you all for being here for today's live stream. And thanks also for the likes. I see we got several likes already. That's great to see. All right, so in the title of today's show, I mentioned a forthcoming video that I have related to David Pakman. So he is a YouTuber, or he does a political commentary show, and I've called into his show 3 times. First time was a couple years ago, and I finally did a reaction video. I recorded a reaction video to my first call to his show, and I plan to publish that soon. I'm thinking maybe sometime this weekend, and I'm really interested to see what kind of reception that gets. See if it gets a lot of traffic, because sometimes when you put the name of someone who has a very large following in the title of your video, then a lot of his followers will show up on my channel. Like when I posted my calls with Sam Seder, who has close to 2 million subscribers on YouTube, I got a lot of viewers on those videos. Actually, I can show you on my channel that those videos have the most of my most views. Here, let me share my screen. Okay, so there's my channel. And if we come down here to the videos tab, and then we sort by the most popular, you can see how many Sam Seder videos show up here. So this one has 3,000 views. That's the highest number of views I have on a video on my channel. That's actually a discussion between me and some other person about my calls to Sam Seder show, but it's related to his show, The Majority Report. And you can see the second most viewed video I have, 2.7 thousand views. That's also a Sam Seder video. That was my fifth call. My third most viewed video is another Sam Seder video, 2.6 thousand. And then here we break the pattern. I don't know why this, I guess the reason this video has so many views, it's in the top 5, is because maybe it's because of the thumbnail. This was a conversation I had with someone 5 years ago. And I didn't think there was anything particularly interesting about this. It's just an excerpt. I had an over hour long conversation, but I cut it up, and this clip is just a few minutes, under 4 minutes, but it got a ton of views compared to most of my videos. And I maybe people really like this thumbnail, and maybe that's why it has so many views. That's the only explanation I can think of. I don't think it got a lot of likes or comments, for instance. So I guess it's just a thumbnail. But anyways, we keep going down. We got more Sam Seder videos. So Sam Seder videos are dominating on my channel in terms of views. There's another couple. This guy, he's a co-host on the Majority Report, Matt Bender. Sometimes he fills in on Thursdays for Sam. Well, he co-hosts along Emma Vigeland, who is his other this woman, his co-host. She's there every day of the week, I think. But on Thursdays, Sam is not there, and this guy often co-hosts. So there's still a Sam Seder connection there. But this video actually has the most watch time on my channel, I think over 250 hours. And then we got another Sam Seder video. So this is my very first video I ever published, Introduction to the Selfishness Project. Got 1,000 views. So I'm thinking maybe if I publish this video with David Pakman, since he has even more followers than Sam Seder, Sam Seder has like 1.89 million subscribers on YouTube. David Pakman has 3.31 million. So he has over 1 million more followers than Sam Seder. So maybe a bunch of people from David Pakman's audience will come over to my channel and watch this video because it has some new content. It's not just a replay. Like these videos with Sam Seder, at least many of them, they're just straight reposts of the videos that are already on his channel, but they still got a lot of views. But the one that I'm going to be releasing soon with David Pakman, it's not just a replay of the call. It's actually a reaction. So I give comments on the calls. So maybe there's some new content there for people to see. But even if people were around for my original calls with Pakman when they originally happened, that was a couple years ago. So I think Pakman has grown by over 1 million subscribers since I was originally on his show. So maybe there's a lot of new people who haven't seen my calls at all yet. All right. So I'll be interested to see what happens with that video. I encourage people to share it, help get it some more views. And I don't know if that will affect my next live stream. Like I've been doing my live streams once every 4 days recently. But if there's a lot of engagement on this uh, David Pakman video, then maybe I'll be busy dealing with that and I'll postpone my next live stream. I don't know. I'll have to see. I'm just going to, in case anyone doesn't know David Pakman, I'm pulling up his channel here, and then I'll just share that for a second. This is the David Pakman Show's YouTube channel. See that? 3.31 million subscribers. And this is another progressive so-called commentator, Brian Tyler Cohen, having a chat with David Pakman. This guy is even bigger. I think he has over 4 million subscribers. But I don't think he has a call-in show like David Pakman does, where he just takes calls from random people. If he did, maybe I would go on his show, but I'm not aware that he has that right now. So this is definitely the biggest show, David Pakman show that I've ever been on. And I've called the show 3 times, and I've finally, after 2 years, I I recorded a commentary video, and I plan to do one for each of my 3 calls. And I don't expect the second and third call to take another 2 years. I expect to do them much sooner. All right, so that's some of the news for my channel, what's going on. And let me come back to the chat. I noticed, so I rewatched my last stream, and sometimes when I was sharing my screen, it was showing some of the windows I didn't intend to share. I'm not sure why that happens, but I'm going to try to be careful this time. I mean, it wasn't anything, I didn't show anything bad that I wish I didn't share, but it's just, I don't want to take the risk of doing that. Um, but so far, I think the sharing has been working correctly. Okay, I see we got a few new people in chat. Richard B. Jamison, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Says I appeared in his YouTube recommended. Okay, good to hear. Welcome. Bossa Bassa. Okay, it looks like he might be a troll. So maybe I'll need to block that person. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Just a moment. Sometimes I like to screenshot things from my records, copy and paste as well. I'm sure I got all the content I need. Okay, that person is blocked. I haven't had to block anyone in a while, but every once in a while, someone comes along and says something that looks like it deserves a block. All right, so we got some other people here. Aasaa S. Um, Joseph. Okay. Good to see some new people here. Thanks for coming by. It looks like Robert had a rant because there's a bunch of chats, and I see at the end of his chats he wrote /rant. So that's the end of his rant, I guess. Okay. So let's see. Anything else I want to say before I start engaging with the chat? And I do want to give priority to people who are here live. I do want to engage with your chats. Um, no, I don't think I have to say anything else before I do that. So yeah, let me start engaging with your chats. Um, so it looks like Robert is asking about the situation at ABC with Jimmy Kimmel, whose show was recently canceled. I have only heard a little about that, but let me just read some of these comments from Robert. He says, curious if you have any thoughts on the Trump administration and the Federal Communications Commission threatening broadcasters and the latest threat against ABC and their parent company, Disney. Well, as far as the Trump administration in general, I'm very negative on it. And I've commented on Trump in many past live streams. I think he's a terrible president, maybe the worst ever. I haven't studied all the presidents in equal detail, but at least given what I do know about all the presidents, I think Trump is probably the worst to my knowledge, in my opinion. I, I I think one of the worst things about him is I don't think he cares about the truth in a way that, I mean, many politicians lie, but I think Trump takes it to another level in terms of his lack of concern for the truth. I think he doesn't even care about like trying to cover up lies in the way that other politicians do. I think he's just got a brazen disregard for the truth. And, if someone points out some inconsistency or contradiction, um, I don't think it bothers him. I think he'll just say anything to get by in the moment, regardless of the truth. I think January 6th is a monument to his lies and the election fraud. But more specifically on this recent stuff with ABC and Jimmy Kimmel, it concerns me. I mean, it seems like from what the little snippets that I've heard about this, that pressure was put on ABC to get rid of Kimmel because he made some comments about Charlie Kirk. I don't know exactly what he said, but I think I heard it was something about attributing the shooting to MAGA or the responsibility for the shooting. He was somehow trying to tie the responsibility to MAGA, and I guess that got Trump Trump and his people upset, and so they put pressure on ABC to get rid of Kimmel, something like that. Um, so uh, I mean, I don't think the government should be um, well, if it's defamation, like that's bad, right? If Jimmy Kimmel is making up lies, like let's say this shooter is a leftist and he hates MAGA, and I don't know if this is the case, but just for the sake of argument, if he's a leftist and he hates MAGA, and then Jimmy Kimmel comes along and says that he's actually pro MAGA, Um, and it's he's trying to lay the blame for the killing on MAGA. I don't know if you could call that defamation. I think there's specific rules, tests that speech has to pass to qualify as defamation in the law, and I'm not intimately familiar with those. There has to be some kind of damages done to the person who's defamed, and it has to be something um, provably false. And I think the standards are somewhat different when it comes to a public figure. Like public figures are open to criticism in a way that I guess private individuals are not in the law, at least. I think the standards for proving defamation against a public figure are somewhat more stringent. It's harder to do. Now, I don't know if maybe Kimmel was saying something just about MAGA rather than Trump in particular. I don't know. But anyways, um, I guess if it was defamation, you could sue for that, but that's a different issue than for instance, threatening to pull licenses. Like I don't think the government should be licensing businesses anyways in the first place. So um, and then what the government giveth, the government can taketh away. If it's handing out licenses, it can also revoke licenses. Uh, I heard that some FCC chairman, I think, was being interviewed by someone and saying that there's, I guess, some public interest clause in the FCC's mission. It's supposed to promote the public interests. And if it's not, then if some broadcasting corporation is not doing that, then the FCC is within its rights to pull a license. I think that's what this FCC guy was saying in this brief snippet of an interview that I saw. So I don't think the government should be in the business of broadcasting in the first place in the way of handing out licenses to be able to broadcast. The government's role is to protect people from force, not to get involved in the economy. um, so there's already corruption just in the fact that the government has an FCC regulatory body to begin with. And I guess once you do have such a body, you could complain about it being arbitrary in the way its rules are used. Like maybe the FCC only goes after um, conservatives and not liberals, or it only goes after liberals and not conservatives. And you could say, well, that's not fair. And you could say, yeah, granted, we shouldn't have this regulatory body in the first place, but if we are going to have it, it should be even-handed in the way it applies its rules. So I guess you could make that criticism. I don't know the details here as to whether FCC is being arbitrary in the way it's enforcing its rules, but you might also make a case that it's impossible for it to be non-arbitrary. I think that point was made in regard to antitrust laws recently on an Ayn Rand Institute podcast I was listening to. They were talking about how the problem with antitrust laws is there's no way to enforce them in a non-arbitrary way. Just by their nature, they are arbitrary, non-objective sorts of laws. And maybe that's true of any regulatory body like the FCC. Like, what is the public interest if we have this agency in the first place to enforce the public interest when it comes to broadcasting? Does that have any objective meaning to it, or is it just arbitrary as to what some government bureaucrat decides is or isn't in the public interest to allow to be broadcast? Um, so that's one aspect of this issue. There shouldn't be government regulatory agencies in the first place wielding arbitrary power. Um, so I guess what else can I say about this? So the government shouldn't be threatening people's free speech like Trump has gone after with threats, at least, I think, like New York Times and maybe the Washington Post, um, various news outlets, CBS. I think he had a settlement with them over something, some interview they did. Was that a Kamala Harris interview? I don't follow these things very closely. I get bits and pieces, so I'm a bit hazy on all the details. But I think there have been a number of times when Trump has threatened or put pressure, legal pressure, and on various news organizations, and I think some of them have settled lawsuits. And I don't think the government should be pressuring private news agencies. Also, with this came up with COVID, I think. I guess during the Biden administration, I think I heard that the Biden administration was putting pressure on social media companies like Facebook to restrict certain information or certain viewpoints about COVID. And I don't think that's the government's proper role. I think that's overstepping its bounds and uh, plausibly violations of free speech. Um, and I'm concerned that the government was overstepping its bounds in the case with ABC and Jimmy Kimmel, maybe putting some kind of inappropriate pressure. Like if it's defamation, then you just take the person to court or take the company to court and sue them. There's there's a legal avenue you can pursue if you think someone has defamed you. But if it's not a case of defamation, if you're just you don't like what they're saying, but it's not defamation, then yet you're still putting pressure by threatening to revoke licenses, then I think that's corrupt. Like the government shouldn't be taking away people's speech via revoking their licenses. But I guess the more fundamental issue is there shouldn't be a licensing organization of the government to begin with. Um, I think that's a violation of free speech. Okay, so those are some of my thoughts on that. There was a bunch more from Robert. Oh, Greg is here too now. Hi, Greg. All right, let me see what else is in here. Robert says, I have people in my circle blaming ABC, Disney for the firing, but is any of this ABC's fault? Sure, it's easy to say they should have stood up to the FCC when I'm not an employee nor a stockholder, and it's not my billions of dollars that are on the line. Who are the victims here? Seems to me we all are, the public and ABC, Disney, while the perpetrator is the Trump administration, including its FCC. Yeah, I think a lot of that sounds right to me. And I guess people who also take their side, you say we are all the victims, the public and the ABC, Disney, but some people in the public probably support this. Maybe partisan hacks, maybe tribalists who aren't concerned with free speech. They only want they're okay with with people being silenced if their views are antagonistic to their own views. Like if you hate Jimmy Kimmel, maybe because you think he's too anti-Trump, you might if you're a MAGA person, maybe a lot of those people
um, are okay with violations of ABC's free speech as long as it shuts up a MAGA person. As long as it shuts up an anti-MAGA person. So we put these people into office. So if we have, as a collective, right? So if we have bad government officials, I think it reflects the fact that there's a lot of badness in the public at large supporting, voting for people like this. So in a way, we get the government we deserve. And I think that's one reason it's important to be involved with politics, because it does affect all of us, whether we specifically like it or not. Um, it affects us. All right, so that was the rant from Robert, or the topic he raised. And then we have Aasaa S says, I've seen him debate Iran. I guess you mean Sam Seder, because that's who I was talking about before. I've seen Sam Seder debate Iran. He seemed a little dishonest, especially when he argued that you can't complain about taxes since Iran came to the country willingly. I think that's a common point. Actually, David Pakman made that point, and that comes up in the video that I plan to publish soon. A lot of leftists will say, well, you can move somewhere else if you don't like it here, if you don't like the taxes here. Um, but I don't think that makes taxes okay. Like, could you say that about slavery? Like, if you go back to the days of slavery, should one's attitude be, well, if you don't like slavery, go to another country. But if you're going to be here, why complain? What business do you have complaining? So does that imply that there shouldn't have been an abolitionist movement? People who were trying to get rid of the institution of slavery, should they all have just given up the country to the enslavers and moved somewhere else? I don't think many people would say that on the left, but I think it's a analogous kind of case. Just because there's something about the country you don't like doesn't mean you shouldn't live there. You have to consider it as a whole and decide, as a whole, is this the best place for me to live? Um, and maybe it is the best place, even though it has problems. Um, so I discussed this point further in my calls with David Pakman and other places too. It comes up a lot. I don't know that it's necessarily a dishonest sort of point, but I do think it's mistaken. It has some incorrect implications, like the implication that you shouldn't go to a place because you disagree with some policy it has, like taxes. All right, Joseph says, "Hi Dan, my first time in your chats. I enjoyed learning that you read Durant's The Story of Civilization series. I'm currently reading The Age of Faith after having read three prior books. I'm almost finished reading your review of the series published in the Objective Standard in 2011. I like that you praised the things I have found most praiseworthy so far, and your criticisms aligned with mine." Okay. Well, very interesting to hear. Thanks for those comments, Joseph. I appreciate that. I mentioned that I was reading Will Durant in a recent chat, or a recent live stream, so maybe Joseph heard that. Yeah, I read those starting in the year 2000. I was in college at the time,
And I love those books. They were amazing. After Ayn Rand's books, I would say those are my favorite books. Will Durant's The Story of Civilization. And I bought a leather-bound copy of them. That's how much I like them. I spent a lot of money on those books. Um, when I originally read them, I just checked them out free from the library, but I eventually got this expensive leather-bound edition. And uh, many years later, I decided I would write a review article on the books, and that was published in the Objective Standard in 2011, as Joseph mentioned. And I had a lot of help writing that from Steve Jolivet. He's a historian, and uh, he helped me think about a lot of issues in writing that review. And I quote him also in the review. So uh, thanks again to Steve for all his help with that. Um, and he helped, I think, focus my attention on Will Durant's strengths, in particular his philosophical nature. He's very philosophical for a historian. Like he emphasizes deep issues, deep undercurrents that run throughout history, in particular the issue of reason versus faith, which is reflected in the title of the book that you're now reading, The Age of Faith, which is Will Durant's volume on the Middle Ages. Will Durant has a lot of attention to that very foundational, fundamental philosophical issue of reason versus faith, which is, I think, lines up very much with the objectivist theory of history, that history is shaped fundamentally by philosophical forces. Um, your fundamental philosophy, like whether you're Platonist or Aristotelian, is sometimes the history of the West is portrayed as a duel between Plato and Aristotle because they have fundamentally opposing philosophies. Plato is otherworldly and mystical. Aristotle is this worldly and non-mystical. He's pro-reason. Um, and you might see an oscillation between their two sorts of worldviews, like the this worldly secular Greek world was preceded and followed by a mystical period. So you had the Age of Faith, that's an anti-reason sort of period during the Middle Ages. And then before reason was discovered in ancient Greece, you had mystical civilizations based on various religions, like the gods of Egypt and Babylonia. Um, it was, I guess, more understandable at that time that they wouldn't have a pro-reason civilization because reason just wasn't understood or discovered at that point. That happened with the Greeks, that philosophers first started to understand the human mind and how it works. And you had philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle um, grasping the the nature of the human mind in a way that had never been grasped, understood previously. But then after that, all of that knowledge, a lot of it was lost. And then there was a descent into the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages. But then with the Renaissance, 1,000 years ago, you have a revival of the classic uh, Greek knowledge and discoveries. And then that's a more Aristotelian period. So you have this very, if you look at history from a very grand scale, you can see it as this oscillation between Plato and Aristotle. And I think Will Durant does a excellent job of highlighting that very fundamental oscillation. Um, and he's not perfect. I think he has some Marxist elements as well, which I talk about, but I wouldn't say that's dominant way he interprets history. It is there, but I think maybe more fundamental to his outlook is this reason versus faith kind of perspective. In any case, I think it's more prominent in his work than most, if not all, other historians. So I think that's a great virtue of his series, which Steve Jolivet helped really bring into focus for me as I was writing that review article. All right. So let me see what other chats we've got here. So I'm glad you're reading those books, Joseph. And I'm pleased that you're reading my review as well. That's great to hear. So thanks for mentioning that, and I guess you're enjoying the series if you're on your the fourth volume. You said you read the three prior books. So The Age of Faith is volume 4 in the series. So if the three prior books you mean are the first 3 volumes of Durant series, then you've read a lot of Durant. So I guess you're liking the series if you're spending that much time reading them. It's like 10,000 pages overall if you add up all the volumes, and they take about 2 feet of space on a bookshelf. So it's a very large series. I wasn't sure how much of that I was going to read, but it looked very interesting when I first saw it. I couldn't believe it was all by one author when I first saw it. Wow. Well, he co-authored the last 5 volumes with his wife, Ariel Durant, but the first 7 volumes, Will Durant is listed as the sole author, and he got some research help from his wife, even in some of those volumes. Um, but still, whether it's one person or a team of two, that's a lot of writing for one person or 2 people. So I just read the first volume, or I actually started with volume 2, The Life of Greece. That was most interesting to me at the time. And then I really liked it. I thought it was amazing. So then I decided to read another volume. I went back to volume 1, which is called Our Oriental Heritage, which covers non-Western civilization, the Orient, which makes sense to start the series with that. But the volumes are pretty, well, not totally self-contained, but he designs them so that if you're interested in a particular period, you can just go straight to that volume. I think you'll probably have an easier time understanding them if you start from the beginning and work forward, but you don't have to do that. And I didn't do that. You can choose a particular period like the Renaissance or the Reformation, Roman civilization, and just go right to that. But I don't know that anyone can say just commit to reading the whole thing without reading any of them to get a taste of it. So um, maybe the best strategy is to just jump in where you're most interested, most motivated to read. And if you like that, then read some more. Maybe I should pull up a picture of this. Might be good to show the series on stream. This doesn't have the picture that's used to be viewable, but I'm sure I can find it on Amazon. Okay. It's It's showing some of my personal information on Amazon, so I don't think I want to share this screen. Um, but I'll share this page with my review article. It doesn't show the article itself, but just so you know where to find it. So here it is on the Objective Standard website. There you can see the URL. A Symphony of History, Will Durant's The Story of Civilization by Dan Norton. February 19th, 2011. I'm not sure why they gave it this date. It actually was originally published in the spring issue. They didn't have a specific date, but they've migrated all their contents to, or maybe they've updated their content on the website version, but it didn't have a specific date associated with it originally. It was just the spring 2011 issue. Um, and you used to be able to read the opening of it, but it looks like it's all behind a paywall now. Although you can get a 7-day free trial, it looks like. Um, okay, enough of that. Maybe if I just I just Googled, okay, I could show this. Yeah, I'll show this page so you can see the volumes themselves. Yeah, so here's some images of the story of civilization. You can see all 11 volumes on the shelf there. Is that all 11? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, no, that's still only 10 volumes. There's actually 11 volumes in the series, but he didn't know how long he was going to live. He published his last volume. I think maybe he was in his 90s. The first one came out in 1935. And then he did 10 volumes. Rousseau and Revolution was yeah, you can see that here. Rousseau and Revolution. That was volume 10. Here's the first volume, Our Oriental Heritage. Volume 2, The Life of Greece. That's the one I started with. The Age of Faith. That's actually volume 4. That's the one that Joseph is reading. So they skipped over Caesar and Christ, which is volume 3. That's not in this picture. Um, the Reformation, Renaissance, volume 5. I gotta look at different photos to see all the volumes. Reformation, volume 6. Volume 7, Age of Reason Begins. Volume 8, The Age of Louis the Eighth. Sorry, Age of Louis the 14th. Volume 8, not Louis the Eighth. Volume 8 is The Age of Louis the 14th. Volume 9 is The Age of Voltaire. Volume 10 is Rousseau and Revolution. And for a while, I think he just stopped with volume 10. And actually, that's the one that won a Pulitzer Prize. Um, Maybe just because it was the last that he thought he was going to write for a while. Because I think any of his volumes, or at least many of the volumes in the series, could have won the Pulitzer Prize. But maybe because it was the last in the series that he planned, they gave it to him after that one. But then he ended up living long enough to write another volume, volume 11, which is not pictured here, which is The Age of Napoleon. Um, oh, yeah, you can see that in this one a little bit. This one says the complete 11 volume set. So here you can see the Age of Napoleon, and they've come out in different covers over the years. So you'll see different editions. They look somewhat different because the jackets have changed. But this one has all 11. You can see them. Um, but I guess the covers are in somewhat different styles. The Age of Napoleon is the last one, so that ends in 1815. So he actually didn't cover up to the present. He was writing in the 20th century.
He died in 1981, I believe. Yeah, I think he died in 1981, but his volumes covered up through 1815. And he doesn't cover the Americas either. He covers European civilization, but not the Americas. Maybe if he had lived longer, he would have had time to write about the Americas as well, but um, he covers a lot. All right. So there's some more info about Will Durant's Story of Civilization. Maybe that'll feature in the title of my show today because I've been talking about that for a while. And I always update the title after the show after I know what topics came up and how much time I spent on them. That'll help me decide what to put in the title. All right, let me look at some of these other chats. Richard says, "What is your best argument for the application of libertarianism? I was a right libertarian when I was younger, but I've drifted away from it in some ways as I've got older." All right. I want to come back to that, but I just want to look ahead in the chat and see what new has come in. I see we got some new people. Matthew Stroud is here. Hi, Matthew. Got some more chats from Joseph. Cake Slap is here. There's a new person. Um, Greg Lewis. Some more from Richard. Uh, Aasaa. Okay, I think I mentioned everyone I've seen so far. I guess I can also look at the leaderboard in the top fans. If you click on that in the chat box, it'll show all the people. Although the names that show up there are sometimes different. It shows the YouTube handle, which is at something, which is not always the same as the name that it shows up in the chat. Oh, Rational 863 is here. Actually, I think I'm going to show this for a minute here. I'm going to share my screen again. Yeah, so now you can see the leaderboard here. So if you click on top fans, it'll show you. I had this uh, disabled for the last stream because I thought it's kind of distracting when I do copy and paste. I try to copy and paste the entire chat after every show and then post it into a comment. And the way that the lines display when I have the leaderboard turned on, it makes it a little hard to read. Like this, there'll be one line for the name and then another line for the number you are if you have a number, right? Only the top three get numbers and they get a line, and then the chat itself gets its own line. And the way it displays in the comment makes it a little hard to read. So I turned off the leaderboard, but I do kind of like being able to see all the chatters here in one glance. So I turned it back on here for the for today's stream. Like Greg Lewis here, you can see his YouTube handle is at Greg Lewis 2155. But in the chat, if I go back to the chat, it just shows up as Greg Lewis, right? You don't see the numbers. So it shows up a little differently, but it is easier to find. Like if you want to go to one of these people's channel, um, it's easier to do if you know the ats, right? So if I go to youtube.com/@ Greg Lewis 2155, that will take me to Greg's channel. But if you just try to click on his name in the chat, I don't think you can go there. So it's it's helpful to have this here, not only because it allows me to see and allows you to see all the chatters, it also tells you what their YouTube channel is in case you want to check it out. So you have Joseph Kellard. Now, see, it also surprises me sometimes, like these two, I didn't see in the chat yet. Oh, Joseph Kellard. So that's the Joseph that I was just talking with about Will Durant. Okay. See, this is helpful. I didn't, so in the chat, it only says Joseph. I had no idea it was Joseph Kellard, who I've seen around online. I've seen his name. Um, so now I can put a not a name to a face, but I can put a screen name to a fuller identity that I've built up over the years, I guess, in my minds. I mean, I don't know much about Joseph, but I've seen him here and there from time to time on online, maybe on Facebook or YouTube or other places, other social media. And I didn't realize that that's the Joseph who's in my chat right now. So this is really interesting to know. So this is an advantage of having the leaderboard. It gives you more information about your chatters. So interesting. Now, Rational 863, I've seen that name somewhere, and I have a picture in mind of who that is. I'm not sure it's the same person I'm thinking of because I think the person has a different avatar on other social media. Um, or maybe it's this person just changed their avatar. So it used to be a face, but now they changed it to a picture of whatever that is. I'm not sure. But I didn't see Rational 863 in the chat. Maybe I just skipped over it because there's a lot of chats in there. Um, so now it makes it very easy to see. Like I don't skip over people as easily. So now I can look for this person who maybe has an entirely different screen name than Rational 863, but I can at least use this picture and look for this picture in the chat and then find that person's chat. So let me see if I can do that. Now there might not be many chats from that person because he or she was at the bottom of the leaderboard. Greg says there is no hiding from Dan on the Dan Norton show. Well, if you participate in the chat, then yeah, that you can't hide from me. Well, I mean, you can use a screen name that I don't recognize, like you can use some anonymous screen name. Um, but I'll know something about you. But I'm not necessarily going to be able to link it up with more parts of your identity. Um, like Cake Slap, I have no idea who Cake Slap is. I don't know. I guess I'll get a little more information if I go to the leaderboard. I can see Cake Slappa is the YouTube channel name, so I could go to that person's channel and try to find out more about that person. Um, but I was gonna try see you can see the experience points. I think that's what XP is. Um, and depending on how much you chat, you'll get more super points. Like so far, all these people are tied at 75. Everyone has 75? Wow. Why is there oh now Rational 83863 is now number 3. Before she was lower or he I'm not sure if that's a he or a she. Um so I don't know why it changed because everyone has the same number of points. But at least in general, the more you chat, I think the more experience points you get. Uh, and if you do super chat, like you contribute money, then you get even more points. I think that's the case. I can't do super chats yet because I'm not yet monetized. I need more watch time first to get monetized. Uh, but anyways, I was going to try to find Rational 863's chats because I think you show up here in the list here if you chat at least once. Now, I'm not going to see you if you don't chat at all. If you're just listening or watching, but you're not in the chat, I don't think you're going to show up here. So I'm not going to know you're here. So you can't hide from me that way. Going back to Greg's comment, if you want to hide from Dan, then I guess the only way to completely hide yourself is to not chat. Oh, I see some 100s floating up on the screen. I don't, you see these hundreds? Oh, there's a laugh emoji. I saw, what else was there? Nice, nice. Oh, there's a startled look. I get, well, maybe that's because I'm watching people. But by sharing my screen, I guess there's the advantage that you can see these little emoji things float up. I'll do one myself. I'll do a heart, 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 heart. And I can see those on my analytics later. Now, I don't think you can see those later if you watch the live chat replay. Here, let me do some other ones too. But since I'm sharing my screen, anyone who wants, I think you can see these later, at least for the ones that happen while I'm sharing my screen. And I'll get analytics later on how many of which kind of reaction there are. All right, I see Holden has called in. Holden Mitrione is in the waiting room on Zoom. Okay, Holden, I will get to your call. Thanks for calling in. Um, but I just want to keep going here with the chat a bit more. Greg says, oops, I do enjoy the superhero genre for the most part. Oh, you're talking about Superman? Um, Doctor Strange Avatar for Richard B. Jameson. Oh, I didn't notice that. Let me go back. Oh, this is Doctor Strange. That's some superhero. I don't know who Doctor Strange is. I've heard of Doctor Strange Glove. Now, why is it showing the Will Durant stuff here up in the top? You can still see that. Is my stream delayed? Oh yeah, see, I'm behind. I wasn't in my on my own screen. It's showing what I was talking about 13 minutes ago. So if I zoom, I don't know why it was caught back, but if I zoom up to now, okay, yeah, now it's mirrored and it shows but it's still got some Will Durant stuff up here. I don't know why that is. See, that worries me when it's showing stuff that I'm not intending to show. Um, yeah, that concerns me. This happened last stream. I don't know why it's doing that. Let me see, I want to see what this looks like on my phone because I can't be showing stuff that I don't want to show. Yeah, why is it? That's weird. Let me stop the screen share for a minute and then restart it and see if it goes away. Um, oh, it's not. That is weird. Why is it playing? Okay, now it's just showing. All right, let me share it again. I think I might have fixed it. Okay, now that's the live feed, although it's delayed by like 15 seconds or so.
which we can test right now. I'll wave my hand right now. I'll put my hand up and wave and count and see how many seconds until my hand shows up on your screen. Okay, and I just put it down. So when the time I put my hand down, I'm going to start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, my hand just went down. So there's a 13-second delay between when I say something and oh, now it's and then when it shows up on screen for you to see it. But now, why is it doing this like infinite looping thing where you see more and more? Okay, I have to think about this. Um, it's recording me, and then it's recording me, etc. Like ad infinitum. All right, I better stop this. I don't want my stream to crash. Um, all right, let me just go back to the basic screen share thing where I was just showing the leaderboard and not the YouTube live stream window. That happened before once when I was playing audio and then this audio was doing infinite looping. There was some music for my I did a Facebook post and I was sharing the Facebook post which had music playing along with it. This was actually my Facebook post from August 1st when I said how many subscribers I had, and if you want to help me get to 1,000 subscribers, here's the link. And I had this epic music. It's actually called that, I think, epic music, kind of a motivational sort of soundtrack that was playing along with this post. And I shared that on the screen, and then this epic music was looping and then looping and looping into these kind of infinite uh, chains, like it was the audio analog of the infinite visual thing that you were just seeing on stream there. And it created this cacophony of sounds after a while. And eventually, the stream was processing after the live stream ended. YouTube was processing it. It has to do that before, it has to do that for a while to make the video fully functional. Um, and it was processing much longer than it usually does, I guess because of this infinite looping thing. So I had to avoid that, or I had to cut that part out and then re-upload the video. So that's why um, that video no longer appears. This is probably really confusing. Let me just show it. I can I'm going to share my screen again. Hopefully it's the screen I intend to share. Okay, so here's my YouTube channel. And see, normally all my live stream videos, they appear in this live tab. You can see them all there. Here's the current live stream. But on the videos tab, sometimes if there's a glitch in one of my live streams, like the one I was just describing with the infinite looping, I have to cut out the glitchy part and then re-upload it. So that's what happened with this video here. So I was just talking about welcome to my 35 new subscribers from Facebook. So this is the one in this stream I was sharing that Facebook post, and the music caused this, it had this looping effect, and then it caused this problem. So I have to cut that part out and then re-upload the video. And when you re-upload the video, it doesn't appear in the live tab anymore. It shows up in the videos tab. So even though this was a live stream originally, it shows up in the non-live section, the videos section of my channel, because I had to do some editing on it. That also happened with a few other live streams. You can see these 4 videos were all live streams originally, but they had various problems, which made me have to re-upload them into this section. And this is actually where the David Pakman video is going to appear soon. um, once I upload that. Well, I've already uploaded it. I just need to publish it. Okay, let's stop the screen share now. I haven't forgotten you, Holden. I know you're still in the waiting room, but I just wanted to find out where what is it? Rational. Oh yeah, Rational 863. I was going to look for that person, a chat from that person. I'm curious to see if I can find that. Yeah. So here, Rational 863 and the sky, I guess that's the sky in the top half. So if I don't see the name, because maybe the person has a different screen name in the chat, I'll just look for this avatar, which has this kind of photo. Rational 863 sky, and then maybe a garden underneath that. Because there aren't many chats from that person. If there are any. Oh, here they are. Oh, that's Florida Nick. Okay. It's a pic of an orange grove. LOL. All right. Yeah, okay. Now I recognize that. See, in this case, the name is completely different. It's not like Greg Lewis, who he is just like Greg Lewis with some numbers after it in, in his YouTube channel. Florida Nick has a totally different name, like Rational 863. I would never guess that. Like just from one, you couldn't guess the other. Whereas with Greg's, you can. It's very easy to associate the identities. So this is a way you can hide from me a little more if you want to hide from me. You have a completely different screen name in the chat than you do on your YouTube channel. All right, so that's Florida Nick. Got it. Now I thought you were someone else. The person I was remembering was actually a woman who I think had a similar handle on some platform, maybe Facebook or X, Twitter. I think it was Rational something, but maybe I guess it wasn't Rational 863 because I'm guessing you're not the same person as that woman I'm remembering. Um, See, that's an advantage to having both names. If I only had Rational 863, I might be thinking it was that woman this whole time. But now that I know Rational 863 is the same person as Florida Nick, I don't think that Rational 863 is the woman. All right. Glad we got that figured out. Um, let's see. Is Holden did Holden say anything in the chat? I don't want to keep Holden waiting so long that he has to leave. Maybe Holden, you can let me know if you have a hard deadline and I'll get to your call sooner. If you do, oh, stop screen share. I got to remember to do that. Oh, it looks like Holden. Oh no, he's still there. Um, yeah, Holden, can you let me know? If you do have a hard deadline, if you have to go soon, let me know in the chat, and then I'll come to your call sooner. Um, but let me just look at a little more of this chat first. Where did I leave off? I took a poll before on whether people want me to show the chat on the screen. Actually, I'll do that poll again because we have a lot more people here today. Maybe I'll get different results on the poll. So, um, here, I'm going to start a poll again. And then you can answer it in the chat. Do you want me to display the chat on screen? And your options are yes and no. The last time I had a maybe option, but maybe I'll force you to choose yes or no this time by not giving you a maybe option. Maybe that'll give more definitive results. Last time I think there was no clear winner, but I'm curious to see what the results are this time. Some streamers do this. You've probably seen that. Um, Maybe you've seen that. I just put the question in the chat, so now you can vote on it. Richard says, "Show the chat, please." So we've got one person who wants it, um, but now you can vote on it. Everyone can vote on it. Maybe even if you're not in the chat, you can still vote on whether you want the chat to display. So if you're not participating in the chat, but you're listening or watching live, you can. I I think you can probably still vote. I guess we'll find out if there are more than 8 votes, because I think there were only 8 people who showed up on the leaderboard. So if more than 8 people vote, then that means some people voted who were at least one person voted who is not in the chat. It's more publicity for you, I guess. So if you like uh, being published or being public, then I guess you would vote for yes. Um, so then not only will your chat be read, I don't read all the chats, so that's another thing. Like sometimes I don't have time to get to every chat, or maybe I read it silently, but I guess your chat will at least be displayed on screen, even if I don't read it aloud. If I'm doing the chat sharing. I'm just going to show one version of what that looks like, a different version. So if I share my channel again and go to this video, see, this is the communist streamer. I was in her chat once, and you can see on the thumbnail here. Well, as soon as I put my mouse over it, it disappears. But if you look in the backgrounds, you can see the chat on screen. That's her chat. I think she streams on Twitch. So that's the Twitch chat. She also streams on YouTube, but I think only the Twitch chat shows up on her screen. And I highlighted my own chat because I was in her chat, and I asked her this question that you can see: does communism treat people as individuals? Because she's a communist. And I asked her that question, which had a connection to what she was talking about. If you watch that stream, you'll see. Actually, I think that might be the first stream that Holden saw. Um, Holden, who was waiting on Zoom. But anyways, we can get a bigger picture of it if I open that video. Yeah, see, now you can see a little better. Maybe I'll even expand this. You can even read them now. um, I don't know if any of my chats show up on that view. Oh, now it's in a different spot. She moves her windows around. Oh, I think this is part of my chat, which is covered up by another window. The troll question. Maybe if I go forward a little. Oh yeah, that's definitely part of my. Oh yeah, now you can see Dan Norton here. Well, it showed up for a second there. Yeah, Dan Norton. I don't know if you can see that. It might be too small. How/when should we arrange a debate? DM on X. I was gonna debate her, but then I think she called me a troll and a sea lion unjustifiably, in my view. And then after that, I thought maybe I don't want to have a debate with her because she has to have some amount of respect and not smear me if um, if we're going to debate. So so I did not end up pursuing a debate with her, but for a while I was considering it. But anyways, you can see her. So do you want your chats to show up on screen? Excuse me. Do you want your chats to show up on screen like this? And then it'll also be in the replay. Um, it'll look a little different because it's not a Twitch chat, it's a YouTube chat, but um, let's see how many votes we've got so far. Where's my window? I lost my window. Oh, here we go. All right, 8 votes. All right, this is different than the last poll I did. 75% say yes and 25% say no. Last time it was 40% yes, 40% no, and 20% maybe, if I recall correctly. So there was no clear winner before, but in this one, there's a clear winner for yes. I'd also be interested. Oh, I guess you can't see the results. I'm going to end the poll now, and then I think the results will show up in the chat. Okay. Yeah, I just ended the poll, and so now you can see the results. Um, I'd also be interested to know the reasons, like why you prefer yes or no. But anyways, maybe I will show the chat since there's a strong majority, at least on today's chat. Um, 8 votes of 16 participants. Oh, there's 16? Oh, you mean 16 viewers. See, participants is a little different because participants means you're in the chat. You're not just watching. At least that's how I think of participants. So, um, yeah, it says for me it says 15 watching now. Um, which are good numbers, by the way. Thanks for being here, people. We've got some strong numbers, both on number of viewers and number of likes. Great to see. 11 likes. Um, Okay, so I'm going to share the screen then because we got a strong. If you were one of the no votes, sorry, but I want to try this out. I want to try doing the screen display. Maybe that'll encourage some people. Maybe it'll discourage other people, but I guess the people who share the reasons of the yes voters, whatever your reasons, like maybe if you like having more of a platform, your view is more public. Maybe that will encourage people who also like that. Maybe that'll encourage those types of people to also participate. Whereas if they didn't have that much publicity, maybe they wouldn't participate. So, but it cuts both ways, right? Depending on what your preference is. So, all right, but at least for now, I'm going to share the chat, and hopefully, I'm only going to share the stuff that I intend to share. I got to figure out why it's. Oh, I think maybe why it was showing the stuff I didn't intend before is because I had it. My stream was not up to date. Like I was showing something 13 minutes before the live, what I was doing live. I think that might be the reason. Okay, but let me go back to the screen share. All right, so now you can see the chat, or at least in a few seconds, because there's a delay of 13 seconds. That also confuses me a bit, the delay. Like sometimes, like maybe the speed at which things show up in the chat is instantaneous, but the speed at which it displays or which you hear my voice is not. So if I t type something in the chat right now at the same time as I say something, I guess you won't hear it in sync. I think you'll see the, is that right? Will you see the chat immediately, but my voice 13 seconds later? I'm going to test that right now. I'm going to rest. I'm going to write test in the chat and see if that shows up instantly in the chat, but you'll only hear me say a special word. What's the special word I'm going to say to test the delay? All right, I'm going to use the word the name of the person who's pictured in my background. That's what I'm going to say once I hit the oh, I guess you can already see test. I haven't hit enter yet, so it hasn't entered the chat. It's just in the ready to be entered um, spot. So I'm going to say her name as soon as I hit enter and then see what the delay is. Ayn Rand. Okay, that time it counted about 20 seconds, but it was different than I thought it was going to be in terms of the synchronization. I thought it was going to show up in the chat the same time. It, wait a minute. Let me yeah, right when I said Ayn Rand, I hit enter and then the word, okay, I'm confused now. Matthew Stroud says 10 to 12 seconds. Yeah, I know there's a delay, but it's like the delay between when I say something and when you hear it, I think might be different than the delay, if any, between when I say something and when I type something in chat. That's what I was trying to test. Um, Holden just said something and then retracted something. Um, oh, I forgot. I got to stop my screen share while I, okay. But I told him before to tell me if he has to go soon, and he hasn't said that in the chat. So I assume he doesn't have to, he's not on a tight schedule. So maybe he said something else. I just didn't want to lose his call. Um, Greg says, don't forget Holden is Holden. Let's hear the debate, says Richard. I don't know if it's going to be a debate. Last time, Holden has called in 3 times before. And it was to talk about the first time was it was just he hadn't read any Ayn Rand before, and we talked a lot about Ayn Rand and what might be a good first thing to read. And then the second call he was after he had started reading The Fountainhead. So we talked about the first part of The Fountainhead. And then his third call, he had finished The Fountainhead. So we talked about The Fountainhead some more. And then after that, he said he was going to uh, read Atlas Shrugged. I don't know if he started reading Atlas Shrugged yet. He was also going to read The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. So I'm not sure what what he has read since our last conversation. But maybe he started reading Atlas Shrugged. I guess we'll see. But I was just having a good time engaging with all these chats. So I wanted to do that for a while more before I got to his call. And I'm still having a good time engaging with the chats. So thanks for Thanks for participating. Richard says, who's the caller? So Holden, he's someone who's new to Ayn Rand. He's an economics major. He debated Charlie Kirk, actually, um, several months ago, back in April, and his debate with Charlie Kirk was got a lot of attention online. It was played on the Yaron Brook show, on David Pakman's show, and I maybe a bunch of other shows, but those are the shows where I saw it. And then he eventually called into my show 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we talked about Ayn Rand and the Fountainhead. So I have conversations with people who are new to Ayn Rand, also people who have been studying her a long time. Just anything to do with Ayn Rand, I'm happy to, whatever your level of knowledge is, I'm happy to have a discussion. Greg says Holden is a frequent flyer. Yeah, he's certainly called in more than most people. I think the most times I ever had a call from one person is might be 4 times. So 3 or 4 times. So Holden is definitely one of my more frequent callers, and I'm happy to have him as a caller. Oh, I was going to go back to the chat, and I'm going to share that again. Okay, now you can see the chat. So maybe I'll do that test. Um, well, yeah, let me try that test one more time. So, um, I gotta make sure my okay, my phone is now as far forward as it can be. Maybe I can show you that too. Now we get like multiple chat windows. So I'm looking at the chat on my phone, and I'm going to, on my laptop, I'm going to write tests. I'll write test 2 because this is our second test of this kind. And I guess you'll be able to see that in about 10 seconds. Um, the waiting room for my, so to speak, for my chats, the chat waiting room. It hasn't officially entered the chat yet. Okay, yeah, there it is now. All right, now the next step is I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to say her name right when I hit enter. And I want to see if the time I say the name and the time test 2 appears in chat. Oh, I think I understand now how it works. There's 2 chats. There's like the live chat that I'm looking at, and then there's the delayed chat where the actual chat appears after 15 seconds. I think I understand it now. All right, but let me do it. All right. I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, and then say her name. In my head, I'm going to count down. Ayn Rand. Nineteen. I counted to 19. Okay. I understand how it works now. I'm confusing myself because I have 2 chats. So maybe I can show it on my iPhone. You see there's the top chat is the chat with the delay. That's the one that shows up 19 seconds after I said it. And then the bottom chat is the actual live chat. So I can put stuff in there. And when I said Ayn Rand, test 2 appeared immediately there. And then 19 seconds later, it showed up in the delay on the top chat.
Matthew Stroud says 18.78 seconds. Were you timing that on a stopwatch? Richard says, have a good stream. See ya. Okay. See ya, Richard. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. It's kind of fun to figure out all these little technical things about how YouTube works and the internet. There's always something new, like to discover, even if it's something very small. I think I very often figure out some new little technical thing. Even I've been streaming for like over 6 months now, but there's always new things to learn about different systems. I imagine if I start using OBS, which is a different streaming software, I'll learn a lot more. I think a lot of streamers use OBS, Open Broadcasting System. I think that's what it is. Right now, I'm using Zoom, but I think there are certain advantages to OBS. Um, Maybe it interfaces with other platforms in a more streamlined kind of way, like maybe with Discord. And so maybe one day I'll switch from Zoom over to OBS. But anyways, that's there's a learning curve associated with that. It's going to take me time to figure all that out. But right now, I understand how to use Zoom and YouTube, so I'm just using those for now. Matthew says my trusty Casio DW290. Greg says I had the system clock up. All right. All right. So now you can see the chat. It's being shared. So now I'm just going to scroll back and see if there's anything I want to engage with before I get to Holden's call. Oh, yeah, that was Robert's rant. He ended his rant there. Oh, yeah, there's Joseph Kellard or Kellard. Not sure how to pronounce it. Richard. Oh, yeah. So Richard he was the one who asked about libertarianism. What is your best argument for the application of libertarianism? I was a right libertarian when I was younger, but I've drifted away from it in some ways as I've got older. Now, if Richard were still here, I would be more inclined to engage with his chat because I mostly want to engage with people who are here live. So if you come back, Richard, you can ask the same question again, and I'll say more about it. Maybe I'll just say briefly now something about it. So one thing to say is I don't consider myself a libertarian. I consider myself an objectivist. Ayn Rand distanced herself from libertarianism, I think in large part because they were anti-state. They're pro-anarchy, at least many of them. And she was definitely not that. She thought there should be a government. You also use this term right libertarian. I was trying to highlight it, but when I click on it, it gives me this menu. See, now I can go to this person's channel. I don't think it gives you that option. The only options it gives you when you click on someone's chat, I think you can do reports or I forget the other. There's one other thing you can do. What's the other option? Block maybe or no? I don't think that's it. Um, but if I hold it down, I can highlight it, but it's now why is it stuck on screen like that? Oh, I have to hit escape. I was trying to highlight rights. It's hard to do with, yeah, I'm not using a mouse. I'm just using my fingers on a trackpad, which makes it hard to do when the words are spaced out across the screen like that. Right libertarian.
Yeah, there's also I've heard this term right libertarian and left libertarian. Um, I'm not really clear on what a left libertarianism. I usually when people use the term right libertarian, I think what people mean generally when they use the term libertarian is what is more technically called right libertarian. Um, like people who are, well, I don't know, maybe if left libertarians are they anti-governments? I don't know. I could Google that, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now. Maybe if Richard comes back, we can do a little research on that. Anyways, Richard says he was a right libertarian when he was younger, but he's drifted away from it. Okay. Um, I just got a message that says Holden has entered the waiting room. Did he drop his call and then call back in? Maybe that happens. Um, but this Zoom notification doesn't show up on screen. I guess that's because I didn't share the Zoom window. I only shared my internet browser window, Chrome. All right, so yeah, Richard, if you come back, we can talk more about libertarianism. Then you say, I think my main libertarian streak that has held on is probably my continued general aversion to Keynesian economic practices. All right, then there was this chat from Joseph, which I already read. Aasaa says Trump has been an absolute disaster. It seems like every day I discover another objectivist YouTuber I can listen to. Makes the world seem a little less bleaker. All right, well, good. Glad you can find that. Greg says, is 5 minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir in that list? Asa? Oh, is he one of the other objectivist YouTubers? I guess that's what Greg is asking. Asa says, nope, never heard of them. All right, well, there's another channel you can check out at Robert Nasir. Richard says, glad to hear a reasonable political take on live. His flagrant disregard, talking about Trump, I guess, his flagrant disregard for the sanctity of the office is rotting it from the inside out, and his propensity to circumvent the rule of law is insane. I guess there's less need for me to read things out if you can see them here on screen, but maybe it's good if I read them anyways, at least some of them if I want to talk about them, because some people might listen to this without watching the chat. So, anyways, yeah, I think it's very bad what Trump is doing in office. I mean, I don't think he should be in office. It's terrible. It's horrible that a person like Trump could be president. They make the okay. All right. Robert says, thanks, Greg. Greg said they make the world seem a little less bleaker. That's Robert and Amy, I guess. Tempted to reword it as a lot less bleak. Robert says, thanks, Greg. True, I participated. Oh, and Greg also said they've done some podcasts with Ayn Rand Center UK. Robert says, thanks, Greg. True, I participated in a lot of ARC UK shows, but I'm especially happy with my series, Life on Earth with Robert Nasir. 108 episodes, about half of them including Amy. All right. Oh, Asa said I was referencing Pac-Man. Oh, is that when I thought you were referencing Seder? Oh, yeah, I guess that's up here when you say I've seen him debate Iran. Yeah, Iran debated Pac-Man and Sam Seder. I think he did a four-part debate with Pac-Man. So I guess that's where the issue of taxes came up. Maybe it came up in both. I don't remember. Oh, Matthew says Iran did three shows with Pac-Man, sponsored by ARI, I think. I'm pretty sure it was four. Ayn Rand ended up on Social Security and Medicare. Well, she signed up for them, but what's the okay? Ayn Rand took government handouts in the form of Social Security and Medicare. Okay, there's been so much discussion of this out there, including on my channel. I've got videos, entire videos about this. So I don't know if this person is still here, but I'm not going to go into all that now. I'll just say there's no criticism at all to be made of Ayn Rand for taking part in programs that she was forced to participate in getting money that was looted from her back. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's zero hypocrisy involved. She opposed the existence of the programs. She didn't oppose participating in programs if you're forced to participate in them. She didn't oppose getting money from these programs if you're forced to contribute to them, but she thought these programs shouldn't exist at all. But if they do exist and you're forced to partake, then you can morally take part in them. Greg says, why come up with electricity and light bulbs when candles and oil lamps let you read at night and kept the firemen on standby? Not sure what that is in reference to. Sounds like he's giving voice to the Luddites. I mean, probably, I guess, sarcastically, giving the voice to the Luddite view. Why come up with electricity and light bulbs when candles and oil lamps let you read at night and kept the firemen on standby? But I'm not sure if there was something earlier in the discussion that prompted that comment. Matthew says to Cake Slap, I suspect you know very well the reasons for that. Trolling is pathetic. Aasaa says she died a millionaire and got back the taxes that were stolen from her. Joseph says, you're welcome, Dan. And yes, I heard you talk about him there. Okay. So Joseph heard me talk about Will Durant a few streams ago. All right. So I guess this is one of the risks of displaying the chat on screen is you see some of these chats from people who might just be trolls. Um, Chats which I might just not read or give as much publicity to. I can delete this chat. I can also block him by hitting hide user. And maybe I'll do that. I haven't read all his chats, but maybe okay. Yeah, there's some smearing going on here. Yeah, this is bullshit.
Yeah, so this is bullshit. It's very easy to do research on the internet to find out that this is bullshit. Um, so I think this person is worthy of a block. You're smearing, you're trolling, um, and I don't want garbage like that in my chat. If you want to appeal the block, you can email me. But yeah, I don't think this person deserves a platform. I'm kind of curious to see what else this person says before I block, though. So instead of scrolling on my laptop here, which is displayed, I'm just going to scroll on my phone. And then that way I can see it without showing any more of his chats. Um, so let's see, 12:22 is the last one I see on screen on my laptop. So I got to go. Oh, but I can't see timestamps on my phone. I can only see them on my laptop, so it's a little harder to find. But I just found them. Okay. Maybe I can read some of the other people's chats in between who are engaging with this person. I don't even want to say the name, which I think itself might be offensive. Here, I guess I'm gonna scroll elsewhere in the chat that you can see just for now, at least, to give him less publicity. Maybe if he does research and then comes back and apologizes for his smears, he can have a second chance. Okay, more disrespectful comments. So after I block this person, his comments are not going to show up in the live chat replay. So that's good. And I guess they also won't appear in the comments below when I do a copy and paste if I do my copy and paste after I blocked him. But I might want to screenshot them before I blocked, just so I have them for my records. Sometimes people might lie about what they said in the chat, but if I have a screenshot of it, I'll know. So if someone tries to appeal the block and say, "Oh, I didn't say that," I could say, "Yes, actually, you did say that. I can see it here." Got to gather my evidence. So we're just taking a little break here while I read his chats, his garbage. It's a good thing we have screening mechanisms like
if this person tried to call in, I could screen him before he gets on Zoom. So uh, someone tried to call in a few shows ago who sounded disrespectful when I was on the screen call with him. Not so much disrespectful to me, but to objectivism. But for that reason, I mean, you can disagree, that's fine. But if you're rude and disrespectful about it, then I don't want to talk with you. Okay, I'm just skimming through. I realize that I can just copy and paste these now. Uh, um, oh, Holden says he has to leave now, but I'll catch up with you soon. Okay. Um, sorry I didn't get to your call, Holden. I do want to talk with you more. So I guess I'll stream again in maybe 4 days, unless I get busy dealing with anything that comes up related to the David Pakman video that I plan to publish soon. So maybe you can call back in anyways, whenever my next live stream is. But I definitely want to chat with you again. So thanks for coming by, and hope everything's going well, and look forward to chatting with you in the future. All right. So yeah, I didn't see a message from Holden before that said he had to go soon. So otherwise, I might have taken his call already. I see he retracted one message, so maybe he said there something about he had to go, but I didn't see that before it was retracted, so I don't know what he said there. Um, all right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the whole chat. I'm going to stop the screen share for a second while I do this. I'm going to copy the whole chat so I can get his comments on record before I block him. New document. Okay, I got it all now. Blocked. All right, all his chats are gone into the abyss, except for my document where I save them, or if anyone else saved them. Maybe other people. All right, so now that I've gotten rid of all that clutter, I can save time in getting through the chat. And now I can share the screen again. All right, so you can see that his message has been deleted, but I can still see it if I click on this, view deleted message. Is that the only one, or does his others
All the others, they just totally disappeared. Maybe that's because I don't know why that one message is. Oh, no, they're all here. They're all here. Yeah. So I can still look at any of them, at least for now during the live stream. But was this the first? I think this was the first one. Yeah. But if I refresh the page, I think my guess is they will all be gone. So you won't even see this. It won't even show the message was deleted or him at all. Let's try that. 12:17, that's when he first appears. All right, I'm going to refresh or reload this page. And now go back to 12:17. Oh no, it still shows up. Well, I mean, okay, so I guess, oh, but I can't scroll back that far. I think if you refresh the page, it puts a limit on how far you can scroll back. I can only scroll back to 12:30, and they still show up as deleted. But after, if you watch this after the live stream, you won't see anything from him. I think that's how it works. All right, so I guess I was up to around here. I guess I can only, well, I can screen back further than 12:30 if I'm using my phone or a different tab. That's what I'll do. Greg says, if I were a betting man, I'd say there are going to be two cases of banning within the first 45 minutes of today's show. Well, you were close. Because I've been going for an hour now. No, 2 hours. Yeah, because I started 11:45 Pacific time. So I didn't get to it within the first 45 minutes. I guess that's because I was so busy with doing other things. But within the first 2 hours, there was one instance of banning. I don't know who you thought there was going to be two bans. What was the other one? Is there something I haven't seen yet? Or are you talking about something unrelated to my show? Are you talking about me banning people from my chat or like ABC banning Jimmy Kimmel? I'm confused. Um, I don't know if Greg is still here. What time was that chat? Let me do a find. Betting. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Um, Aasaa says because she paid into these programs for a majority of her life, and she was um, getting back the money that was stolen from her. Joseph says also about Will Durant. Also, I liked very much that you praised Durant's style of writing. Style is not something often talked about, but Durant's style is so exceptional that it should be mentioned in a review. Yes, he is an exceptionally good writer, just from a stylistic point of view. And then Joseph says, of the books I've read so far, the Renaissance book was the best stylistically. And then Matthew says, replying to the now deleted person,
or you don't understand objectivism, don't know the real facts, and want to get a rise out of political opponents. Joseph says, I actually read the Renaissance book first, but I went back and started to read book two on Greece first, and then the book on Rome, and now Age of Faith. Okay. I have not read the first book yet. Okay. Joseph says they probably posted your review online first. It was published about the same time as the original print edition in spring of 2011, my review article on Will Durant. I think that at that time, the online version came out a few days before the print edition was mailed out to people, but they were very close in time. Aasaa says to the troll, your critique is that of every Reddit communist. It's like you people, it's like you people Google, quote, Ayn Rand bad, unquote, and all read the same post. Florida Nick says that that's weird. It gives my YouTube channel name, but shows in chat as Florida Nick. Yeah, I don't know why they don't do it the same way in both spots. I guess it is convenient to have, maybe there's some advantages to both, to having both. Joseph says, yes, that's me, Dan. I guess confirming that he is Joseph Kellard or Kellard. He says he knows me originally from HBL in the 90s, the 1990s. Oh, now I can. Okay, now I'm caught up. I don't have to look at my phone anymore because I see here on the laptop chat. Okay. Okay, that goes far back. I don't think I was on HBL in the 90s. I don't think I had joined it until maybe this is Harry Binswanger's list. For anyone who doesn't know, Harry Binswanger is an objectivist philosopher who actually knew Ayn Rand. He was friends with her in the 70s. I first met her in the 1960s, and he started a email and internet forum for discussing for people interested in Rand to discuss things. The Harry Binswanger list. Now it's called the Harry Binswanger letter. It used to just be email, but now there's a website. Um, which was recently updated. So it's got a different look and feel now than it used to have. But I don't think I started as a member on HBL until 2001 or 2002. But anyways, yeah, it, uh, it was a long time ago. Okay, here's the stuff about Florida Nick. Figuring out he was the same person as Rational 863. Richard says it's because your YouTube stream is paused. Yeah, I guess that's why I was confused before when I was doing that delay test, or when I was seeing something that I didn't think I was intending to show. 60-second delay. I think it's more like 20 seconds or 15 seconds. That's called the Drost effect. Picture within picture like a double mirror to infinity. I literally learned that today, says Matthew. I don't know why it does that though. Like, why does it? Oh, because if it shows me watching myself, if I share a screen that shows me watching myself, then it's gonna iterate, show another screen of me watching myself. And then once that gets fed into YouTube, it's going to show a screen of me watching myself, watching myself, watching myself. Okay, I still feel a little bit hazy on it, but I feel like I understand it at least a little bit better now. Greg says, don't the infinity tables contain two mirrors? One of them is a two-way mirror, kind of like a double double. Florida Nick says, no, I'm not a woman. Oh, now here's a chat from Holden, which I didn't see before. It says, I am just eating, but will leave rather soon. Okay. Sorry about that, Holden. Yeah, I don't know if there's a, maybe I should have asked you to let me know on the Zoom chat instead of the YouTube chat, and then I would have seen that more likely. Okay. That's unfortunate. I would have liked to have taken his call. Maybe he'll come back later if I stream for a really long time. Like if I stream for 8 hours, maybe he'll finish whatever he had to do when he left and he'll come back and I can take his call then. I think I've read all your messages now, Richard, but you're gone now unless you came back. She's a Hassan orbiter, I'm pretty sure. That's the communist streamer I was showing. Here, I'll put it back up. Her straighter aid. Yeah, I just put that up before so I could show you her version of displaying a chat on stream. Why is it all? But, Hassan, he's a far left streamer on Twitch. So if she's an orbiter, then I guess I wouldn't be surprised if she orbits Hassan. All right, here was the voting. Figuring out the delay stuff. Okay. Holden waiting. Okay. Oh, thanks, Greg. Yeah, report or block. Those are the two options you get if you're not the channel owner. Okay. Yeah, that's good. You can at least block someone yourself if I don't block them, or if I don't block them yet, because sometimes it takes me a while to see that someone should be blocked because I'm busy doing other things, but you can block them sooner. Matthew Stroud says left libertarian would be someone like Brendan O'Neill at Spiked. Okay, I've never heard of that person. Candles and oil lamps were referencing something you, Dan, had said shortly before I typed it. Okay. I don't remember what I said. That's would have prompted that. And this is where Holden says he has to go. Greg says, too bad YouTube doesn't offer double entry bookkeeping to hide the trolling from public view, but maintain it for historic podcaster access. Yeah, there's a risk. I mean, I don't know if there's, like I was just saying a minute ago, you can block someone, but yeah, it wouldn't block it from public view until I blocked them. So that is a risk that comes with displaying the chat on screen. But there's also the benefit, right? I can show all your replies to that person or um, your other comments. So there are advantages and disadvantages. Maybe we can figure out some kind of system to minimize the disadvantages. Like if you all detect a troll, you could say something in chat. If I'm busy talking about something else or on a call with someone on Zoom and I don't see it in the chat, maybe you all could say something in the chat like troll alert. I've seen people do that to me actually when I go in like to some leftist chat and I start saying some stuff they don't like. Even though I'm not a troll, I politely engage, like with that communist streamer. I just make challenging comments. I will get smeared as a troll, unlike this person who actually I think is a troll, who's really smearing Ayn Rand and saying disrespectful things, things that aren't true. Um, but if you see someone who's a troll, maybe you could say something in chat, and then I could look on my maybe I could look on my phone and use that as like for my keeping an eye on the latest part of chat. So if I'm displaying my laptop chat and I haven't seen the troll yet on there, but maybe if I will see it on my phone, then I can so if I see something like troll alert in my phone chat, then I can weed the person out from my phone before I display it on my laptop so that the person doesn't get the publicity of being shared on the screen. Maybe something like that would work. Greg says, oh, 118 minutes, not 45 as predicted, as that's how long it took me to ban someone. But you said two people might get banned. Who was there someone else who you thought might deserve to get banned? Oh, you said there was Cake Slap in the one you banned before him near the beginning of the show. I didn't ban anyone other than him. I don't think. I don't remember banning anyone else.
Joseph says, okay, my timing is probably off, but I do recall your name from HPL a long time ago. Okay. Yeah, I think it was 2001 or 2002 when I first joined HBL. But but I might have seen your name before that because I don't know if you had ever published a website before that, or maybe in some objectivist publication like The Intellectual Activist. But it's possible that I saw your name somewhere online before you saw my name. Because I didn't, I was not really visible online back in those days. I had an email, but that was about it. I didn't have my own website or I hadn't published anything. But I wonder when you first came across Ayn Rand, I would guess that you came across earlier than I did. Because I think I remember seeing your name very early on. I first read Ayn Rand in 1997. Um, so maybe I saw your name within a year or two or three of that somewhere. I don't know where. Okay, and then Greg says in the last chat, I'm now caught up in the chat finally after more than 2 hours. Greg says, you see the screen watching yourself. 20 seconds later adds the next screen. Then 20 seconds later adds the next screen to the multiple screens already included, and so on. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, today has been a lot of time on technical stuff, not as much on philosophy. Um, like technical stuff about how the stream works, like blocking people and infinite looping on screen and um, delay testing out delays. So we did talk some about philosophical, political stuff towards the beginning in regards to Robert's comments on about asking about ABC and Jimmy Kimmel, that situation and free speech. So there was a little towards the beginning, but not as much as there usually is. So today is an unusual show so far, but maybe it's good to have a different sort of stream every now and then. Um, but in general, I do want to spend more time talking about substantive, philosophical, political, ethical sorts of topics. And I wish we got to Holden's call. I feel a little bad that I missed that, but I guess that's a lesson for me to learn that I'm having fun engaging with the chat, but it might come at the cost of missing a good call. So um, I got to think of ways to optimize, and that would have been there probably would have been some good substantive philosophical content in that call. Um, so I have to think of ways to optimize how to balance all the different parts of my show. So I was thinking before maybe I could have maybe if someone is waiting on hold, they could let me know in the Zoom chat instead of the YouTube chat if they have to go soon, and I'd be more likely to see that warning chat. Okay. Anyways, I don't have a hard deadline that I have to end today's stream. Usually I go for at least 2 hours. Lately, I've been going for around three and a half. Um, but I might want to take a break at some point. Let's see. Joseph says, yes, I published a newsletter and later had a website where I wrote about various issues based on my understanding of objectivism. I first came to objectivism in the early 1990s. Okay.
That sounds familiar. I probably saw that one or both of those things, your newsletter or your website or both. I wonder what you do now. If you want to say, you don't have to say, but like in terms of are you doing some kind of work or are you retired or what do you do in life? But if you just want to be anonymous about all that, that's fine. So I was just about to click on a different screen, but I have to remember that I'm sharing the screen. So maybe I'm going to do something as a test. I'm going to detach this tab from the window it's in. And then if I switch to the other window, I wonder if that's going to share. AGOSTI is here. Hello. It's been a while since I've seen you. All right, I just detached the tab and maximized it. Now, if I stop the screen share, I wonder if it's still going to show the window from which I detached, or yeah, from which I detached this tab. Oh, see that? That was that was not what I intended. That's why I had to be careful. I don't really mind that Google lock that you can see showed up. It just has some of my notes about things I might talk about. But yeah, I'm reading what I had on that screen now. Actually, I'll just share it. Yeah, I don't mind sharing that. Just, um, I guess it gives me more content to talk about. So this is a Google Doc where I make some notes for each show, like what I might talk about. So today I talked about this Pakman video that I recorded. I got a record number of likes on the last stream, record number of concurrent viewers, and good watch time. Um, when I might release the video, Saturday maybe. Oh, these are updates on what I've been reading. I didn't get to that, but I thought that if there was, if I didn't get any chats, then I could talk about things I've been reading about, like the Boston Tea Party. I finished reading the Torah, the first five books of the Bible, and then I went back to studying England's medieval history, medieval England's. It's been several months since I was reading that. And then I thought I might also talk about accidentally screen sharing things, which just happened with this very document. I did not intend to share the screen, but that tab I had open, when I detached it from this window and made it its own window and then stopped the screen share, I ended up sharing the window from which I had detached the tab. And I wasn't sure that was going to happen, but it did. And then what you saw for a few seconds was this. Um, this is some notes about what I was going to ask Evolutionary if he came back into the chat, that chatter. He wanted me to watch the Khan Academy video. Um, some other things related to a discussion I had in a previous chat with Evolutionary. He was talking about objectivist capitalism as opposed to some other capitalism. So I was going to ask them, are there different kinds of capitalism? And there were some other questions I was going to ask him about. But anyways, now I know what happens. And maybe that's what happened before. I detached the tab from a window, and then when I stopped showing the tab that I detached, it started showing the window from which I detached it.
That would be my guess as to what happens. But now I'm going to stop sharing this and go back to my detached tab, which has the chat in it. Why is that? That's weird. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. Now I can share. All right. So now I feel like I have more control over this sharing function, and I'm not going to accidentally share something I don't intend to share. Um, so Agosti says, "What do you think about lobbying? I get from objectivists in general that they are against it, but isn't it easy to defend given the mixed economy?" Oh, typo. He meant to say, I get from objectivists, not that I come across a lot of them, that they are against it, but it isn't easy to defend. Okay. All right. Let me think about that. And then Joseph says he's working on a book about Leonardo da Vinci. All right. So that's what he's up to now. All right. I don't know much about Leonardo. Well, not a book level knowledge. I've read the part in Will Durant about Leonardo da Vinci. I guess that would be in his volume on the Renaissance, which I think, yeah, you said you read that one, I think. You started with that one, but I haven't read an entire book. All right, so maybe I should next spend some time on Agosti's comment. I think I'll do that, but I might want to take a break first. Um, yeah, I think I want to take a break for like 7 or 8 minutes. Actually, I might need to get a snack soon too. So should I make my break longer or should I maybe I'll just say 7 or 8 minutes now, and then if I feel like I need a snack later, I'll get one. Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do is take a 7 or 8 minute break. I'll just turn my mic and camera off, and I invite you to keep chatting, and I'll get your chats starting with a ghosty when I come back. And I'll just write here in the chat for anyone who shows up new so they know what's going on. I'll be back shortly. And then I will also change my name on Zoom to Dan Norton. Will be back shortly. And then once I turn off my camera, that will appear in the middle of the screen. So people who join the stream will know what's going on. Like that. All right, so my mic is still on. I just turned off my camera, but I am about to turn off my camera. I mean my mic as well. So I hope to see some of you on the other side of the break. All right, see you in a bit.
All right, I am back. Just got to change my name back to Dan Norton. There we go. All right, so part two of the Dan Norton show for September 18th, the post-break part. And I left off with a chat from AGOSTI. And let me share that on the screen. So if you are new to my channel, I promote Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism, as it says on my background. A philosophy of reason, egoism, and capitalism. And I engage with people in chat or on calls. There's a Zoom link you can use to call in if you want. Here's the one. I was just looking for that. Excuse me. Took me a second to find the chat window. Okay, now you can see it. So I was up to this chat here. All right, so what do I think about lobbying? Excuse me. What do I think about lobbying? I get from objectivists in general that they are against it, but isn't it easy to defend given the mixed economy? Well, so just to set this up a bit for anyone who's not familiar with what the issue is, objectivism advocates for separation of state and economics. So the government should not interfere with the economy, and there shouldn't be something like the SEC or the FDA, FCC, all these regulatory agencies. But because there is a lot of government interference that incentivizes some people, at least, to lobby the government to try to get special favors. You see this happen with antitrust law sometimes, which is another illegitimate thing the government does, in addition to these alphabet agencies I just rattled off. There's the whole section of antitrust law is illegitimate on Rand's view. It's not objective law. It allows the government to coerce businesses, penalize businesses for doing things that should be legal. Businesses should be free to set their own prices at whatever level they choose. It's their private property, and they make people offers. And if you don't like their offer, you don't buy their products. But the government regulates businesses in various ways, like through minimum wage laws. They have to pay their employees a certain amount. They can't engage in anti-competitive practices. That's something that I think is part of the antitrust law. But what exactly does that mean? What is an anti-competitive practice? Does that mean setting your prices too high or too low? What is too high or too low? Like, can you really define that, or is that just arbitrary? I don't think there is a way to define that. It's just ultimately comes down to what you just have to do whatever the bureaucrats tell you can do. But that's a government of men, not a government of laws. You shouldn't be at the whim, at the mercy of government officials. There should be clear rules about what you can and cannot do. Um, but because there are these government organizations with this arbitrary power, some some people uh, try to leverage that and get an advantage in the market by lobbying the government. Like maybe Netscape, an old internet browser, will complain to the government and say Microsoft is engaged in anti-competitive practices by bundling its browser, Internet Explorer, with its operating system, its Microsoft operating system, and making its browser the default browser on computers that sell the Microsoft operating system. And that's not fair to us at Netscape. That's anti-competitive. And so now the Justice Department goes after Microsoft. This happened in was it the late 1990s? The Justice Department went after Microsoft for something like this, anti-competitive practices or monopolistic practices. So this was a case of lobbying. Netscape lobbied the government. I don't know if they made some bribe or offer to the government in exchange for going after Microsoft, like if they offered them a piece of their profits or what. I don't know, but or maybe they just thought they would earn more. They would get more profits themselves if they could get the Justice Department to prohibit, to coerce Microsoft into not offering their internet browser. Then maybe Netscape thought, well, we'll get more market share that way. So we don't even have to bribe someone in the Justice Department. We'll just get more market share as a result of Microsoft being constrained to in the kinds of product it offers. And then maybe we'll get rich. We'll make a lot of money because our competitors have been hamstrung. So businesses see it as in their interest sometimes to lobby the government for special favors or to smack down competitors because they think they'll get more profits that way. So I think that's a corrupt system. Um, and I guess you could blame Netscape for trying to wield the power of government against its competitor, Microsoft, instead of competing against Microsoft on a free market without government coercion to help it uh, cripple its competitors. That's the way it should happen. So I think you can blame Netscape, but you also need to blame the government, which has these laws in the first place, right? If there were no antitrust division in the government to lobby or to go after people or companies like Microsoft, then you would have to compete on a free market. But if there are going to be agencies in the government that can dispense special favors, who are open to bribes, or, then that invites corruption, and that's bad. And I guess there's the blame can lie on multiple parties, like on on the government itself, at least the antitrust part of it, as well as on uh, business people who try to exploit these corrupt laws, like Netscape. Um, as well as anyone who advocates for this, right? If you're a member of the public and you advocate for there being antitrust laws, so various parties can be blamed. But you say Agosti says he gets from objectivists in general, they're against lobbying, but isn't it easy to defend given the mixed economy? So I guess it's more understandable that companies would lobby if their competitors are lobbying and they think, well, the only way for them to stay afloat is to lobby themselves. So like if Microsoft is crippled as a result of Netscape's lobbying, then you can understand why not Microsoft would also try to lobby. Um, but I think it should lobby in a certain way. So I think what it should do is not try to get control over its competitors and say, actually, no, Netscape, they're the ones violating the law, or Google or Apple, or instead of going after some other company, just like some other company came after you, what it should advocate for is exposing the corruption of the system to begin with. So instead of uh, increasing the problem by getting the government more involved, going after more people, what I think would be better is if it campaigned against antitrust laws, for instance, and said, get Netscape off of our backs. Stop coercing us. That's a violation of our freedom, of our rights. Um, so you might think there's two ways to um, direct things into a better state. One is to counter someone's lobbying with lobbying of your own for your own special favors. Another is to try to get the special favors repealed. And I think that's the better way to go. Um, but I think instead, many businesses, and unfortunately, they just kind of feed the flames of violations of rights by taking advantage of it for themselves, at least in the short term. They get some short run benefit. Um, but I think that just compounds problems. Instead of adding controls onto controls or regulations onto regulations and trying to even things up that way, it's better to repeal regulations and get things closer to a free market. So I guess maybe you could defend lobbying the government if you see that as your only way to run your business. Um, but if you see another avenue, then like if you see repealing controls as an option as opposed to lobbying, then I think that's the better way to go. That's more defensible. Like, I guess lobbying would be, I don't know if I should call it a last resort or a second resort. Um, but better than lobbying is just repealing the regulations in the first place. So there's some on AGOSTI's chat. So we have another chat from Autumn Leaves. He says, Dan, I'm affiliated with the Majority Report show. Would you be interested in debating Sam Seder? I'm not sure. I remember you. So you were the moderator on the chat, the YouTube chat, when I first called in to your show. It was 4 years ago almost now. And yeah, I'm thinking back to that now. Um, yeah, I've wondered if I should block you actually. You blocked me, at least temporarily, when you were the moderator on Sam's chat. And I thought you blocked me for 3 days, but you said you apparently you only timed me out for a few minutes, but that's not what you said in the chat. You threatened to block me for 3 days. I don't know why, because you disagreed with me or something. I wasn't being rude, but I don't think you were polite to me, and I think you were encouraging other people to bully me, actually. I think I saw that in later chats, and for that reason, I've thought like maybe I should block Autumn Leaves. Um, but anyways, that's maybe I'll think about that some more. As for debating Sam Seder, I've been on the Majority Report many times. I've called in 7 times. So I don't know what kind of debate you're thinking of. Like you just want me to call in again? Or do you mean something more like Sam would have me on screen so you can actually see me like he does sometimes when he debates someone, like when he debated Euron Brook, who wasn't just a caller, but it was more formal and it was arranged. I guess I'd be more inclined to do it if it was like that than if I was just a caller. I've talked about this some on previous shows that I'm not sure I want to call Sam's show anymore, because he smeared Ayn Rand and seemed okay with smearing Ayn Rand. I discussed that in my last call to his show from, I think it was about a year ago. And at a certain point in the call, he said he thinks there might be an argument that Ayn Rand deserves to be smeared more. And when I heard that, that really turned me off because that's just dishonest. If you're going to smear someone, then you're misrepresenting their position and deliberately doing so. At least the way it sounded like Sam was talking about it. If you're okay with smearing someone, that means you're okay with saying th saying things about their view that are false. But that's terrible. You shouldn't do that to anyone. You should represent someone's viewpoint accurately and engage with that, not smear them. So I haven't really felt like calling Sam's show since he said that, since he made that comment about maybe Ayn Rand deserves to be smeared more. Because I want to engage with people who have a certain level of honesty and decency. And I thought that crossed the line. I mean, maybe I'll change my mind at some point, but at least since a year ago, I haven't felt like calling again. And I don't know, maybe if you can give me more publicity or something by like putting me on screen and having me on for a long time, like when Euron Brook debated him for, I don't know, 45 minutes. Maybe I would reconsider. So I don't know if you would make me an offer like that, but I guess that would make me more inclined than just doing a regular call. Um,
especially since I don't know if he's going to even take if he would even take my call if I just get in the queue. I mean, there's so many people. Sometimes I call in and I'm on hold for like over an hour, and he doesn't even take my call. And I understand that because he has so many people, he can't take everybody's call. But like, do I want to spend a lot of time waiting on hold and then he doesn't even take my call? I'm even less inclined to do like if it hadn't been for this the smear stuff I was just talking about, then I'd be more inclined to call again, and I don't mind waiting on hold. But especially given his comments in the last show, I'm in less inclined to want to wait on hold for a long time as a regular caller, and then he doesn't even take my call. So I think maybe you have to, if it were arranged in a certain way, um, I'd be more inclined to reconsider and debate him again. So maybe that's all I will say right now about this. Okay, so that was just on this chat here. And that was the last chat. So if anyone else wants to jump in, feel free. Joseph said he's read about 3 dozen books on Leonardo da Vinci. Wow, that's a lot. I guess you need to read a lot if you're going to write your own book on him. Let me see if there's anyone in the Zoom waiting room. I don't think so. I think I will get a pop-up if there were. No, I don't see anything there. So I can go back to this screen now. All right. So anyone else want to jump in with a topic, question, comments? Otherwise, maybe I'll just end the stream today. I've been going for over 3 hours now. Maybe if I were to engage with Sam Seder more, I would want to talk to him about the smearing comment he made before anything else. Like, because you need to have a certain basic level of honesty to be worth engaging. And at a certain point, I remember that call when I was telling Sam that he was smearing Ayn Rand, and he called her hypocrite at one point for taking Social Security. But later in one of my calls, he said she wasn't hypocritical. But then I think he went back to calling her hypocritical, and I said, "You yourself said she wasn't hypocritical, that there was nothing wrong with taking it in my last call." And then I guess, and then at that point, he just said, "I don't care." What's going on there? Like, if you catch him in a contradiction, like saying she was hypocritical, and then saying she's not, and then you confront him with it, and then at that point he just says, "I don't care." That's weird. Why don't you care? You don't care if you smear someone, if you misrepresent their position? I mean, he certainly seemed to care when he made his video from back in 2011. He made a big deal about it. He did a whole segment about Ayn Rand taking Social Security and how it was like the height of hypocrisy or something. But now all of a sudden he doesn't care about it when I argue that that's a misrepresentation of her view.
So we might have to have a discussion about the discussion, a meta discussion, like instead of just going into politics or talking about Social Security. Another thing he said in that call was like, let's discuss substantive issues, as though smearing someone is not a substantive issue. Like, sure, I'm happy to talk about substantive issues if that means political philosophy, but not if you're going to be dishonest in the way you do it. And if you're smearing someone, that itself becomes a substantive issue worth discussing. Um, at least for me, it is. Like if he doesn't care about smearing people, and if he doesn't think that's a substantive issue worth discussing, I think that's very wrong. He should want to correct the record if he's smeared Ayn Rand. Oh, we got 2 more subscribers. Great. Thank you. Went up to 945. I'm working my way up to 1,000. That'll be a great milestone to reach. If you want to be part of the first 1,000, now is a great time to sign up. Um, maybe I'll give you a special perk, like you can get a free super chat once I start taking super chats, which maybe I can start doing in a few months because I need to get a certain amount of watch time on my channel before I'm eligible to take super chats. And at the rate I'm going, I think there's a good chance I'll hit it within a few months, maybe by the end of the year. We're in September now, so thank you for subscribing. See, we got a lot of people coming by the stream. I'm just looking on my YouTube analytics. Maybe you can see that on the phone a little bit. Um, yeah, it's good showing. Let's see, is this oh, I'm not sharing my screen now, am I? No. I'm gonna close some of these windows. Actually, maybe I'll share this one since I was just talking about it. Sam Seder video. Yeah, so I'm in the videos tab and I sorted by most popular videos on my channel. And this is the last call I had with Sam, my 7th call. And I mentioned smears in there. And I put it on the thumbnail too. You're smearing her. So if you want to get all the details on, you want to hear that call, that's the one to listen to. All right, I'm going to stop that for now. Joseph says, yes, and my Da Vinci book is the reason I started to read the story of civilization as research from my book. Oh, okay. Interesting. I guess you mean yes, you've read 3 dozen books. Well, I'm glad you checked out Durant to see what he has to say about Da Vinci. I don't remember specifically that chapter.
I would guess he's got a chapter on Da Vinci. But I read the whole volume, so I must have read it many years ago. All right. Anyone else want to jump in the chat? I've got 6 people here. Maybe they're waiting for someone to start a discussion in the chat. I could talk about other things like the stuff that was on my Google Doc a while ago that I showed you. Like I could give you an update on my reading, but I'd rather engage with people who are here live if they do want to engage on any topics. Otherwise, I might end the stream. I'll give you a minute to jump in the chat if you want. Otherwise, I think I'll end the stream for today. And then I guess the next thing I'll do for my channel is I'll publish that video with David Pakman. I'm thinking maybe on Saturday I'll do that. And then I don't know if there will be a lot to deal with related to that after I publish it. Like if there are a lot of people commenting on the video, maybe I'll be busy engaging with commenters. And so um, I won't have time to do another live stream 2 days after that, which would be my normal frequency. If I stream once every 4 days, Monday would be my next stream. So, but if I'm not too busy dealing with anything related to the Pakman video, then I think I'll just stream again on Monday. I wonder if Ron Brook is streaming now. I think he had a show scheduled for 1 p.m. And his shows are usually around 2 hours, so maybe. Oh, it looks like it's still going on. He's talking about the Kimmel issue. Jimmy Kimmel. Someone asked me about that earlier in this show. Oh no, it looks like his show ended. It's okay, maybe it just ended. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't see any new chats, so I'm going to end the stream for today. Thanks everyone for coming by. And thank you for the likes on the stream. I definitely appreciate that. Thanks for likes from people who are watching this who are not live on the replay. Thanks for those likes as well. And thank you to my 2 new subscribers. All right, so hope some of you will check out my Pakman video coming out soon. And I'll see you in my next live stream, maybe in 4 days from now on Monday. We'll see. All right. Bye, everyone.